Washington is concerned on China invest in the US, yet is the otherwise of America? You might wait Leo Channel to be downbeat on the next of Ohio, a country in the US Midwestern, how has seen its ex-manufacture might devastated by automate, overseas contest and the finance meltdown. But Mr. Channel, who excited to the country in 2000, says newly same seen cause for hopefulness, a wavelength of investment by China firms, that include acquired companies and outdoor factories and restaurants, help to stock the area's occupation and people declines. They've created jobs, says Mr. Channel, execution CEO of the Moore Cincinnati China Camera of Trade. Though several of them are to human beings of China, they're as well upcoming to buy houses, pay for formation, pay for public health thoroughness and pay taxes. He's a gain position. In Washington, yet, the operation, portion of an alleged $135 billion, pound 100 billion, China invest through the U.S. with 2010, has been met in suspect of lawmakers concerned by the increasing technology refinement of China's war convention and the White's building, in an eye to China, are now work on measures how would drag rules steering overseas investment, installation up a collision among two multi-year US policy priorities, jobs and domestic safety. Companies, consisting technique firms, and several lawmakers include alerted versus overreaching measures how might prevent invest. But political community calling stricter rules claim how Wu in technique and the competition risk delivered by China's country-led economics consumer demand and upgrade. I wish the US to stay a large location for overseas invest, but I believe he's as well essential to hold the some folks of deception and defending ourselves of backstage engineering, member Denny Latch, a Democrat of Washington, told at a listening the springtime. Though out of new rules, the U.S. has hardened its attitude. The Board on Overseas Invest in the Joint State or CFI-US, that reviews deals for domestic safety risks, discussed more than rather than 230 transactions recent year, approximately dual the quantity in 2011 and 40% more than rather than in 2016, on to a ladder by the government paper. The year, the board, that is led by the Exchequer Division, hunted Broadcom's buy of chipmaker Qualcomm and the selling of a cash transmission company to Ant Finance, Alibaba's digital payments hand. Recent year, it locked an alleged $10 billion cost of China transactions. This great met how the U.S. utilized to include for inside invest at the Fed standard has to several degree rolling upwards, says Gary Huffbauer, elder comrade at the Peterson Institution for World Economy. The study is connected to U.S. concerns how China companies, lot of them country-backed, are targeting top technology industries how could be put to war goal. The troubled day behind year and include flaring up on in incidents of industry spying, but the sentiment has dark newly, as us policy leaders, consisting CEO Trump card, include withdrawn on concerns on job losses, Mr. Huffbauer says. He says the policy rhetorical can be xenophobia and exaggerate the risks, it all gets wrapped up in one wide declaration. Whatever of China is suspicion. To Mr. Channel, the alarm signal feels love a reiterate of Washington's fears on Japan invest in the 1980s. He trouble the against China say will rotate investors off of places love Ohio. He's certainly daunting, and fair hard to discover a whipping boy, he says. Someone of China you can ever accuse and tend not to sense those guilty on it, but it in fact torment regional human beings. Policy clearance versus China invest is not distinctive to America. But in spite the focus China's operation has brought in the U.S., it remnant a comparatively little gamer, says Joy Dantung Ma, food officer at the Paulson Institution, that tracks China invest in the U.S. How provided on 12% of the full overseas invest how year and on 2% of occupation at overseas firms. A lot of the response to China invest is to fare the rate of increase, but it is as well really essential to recall how is comes of a really low base, she says. We type of overstate the significance of new jobs. The Rosewood team found how largest of the investment by China firms are in the actual property or welcome sectors. Firms' legacy largest workers via acquisitions or mergers, but several companies are as well start us operative of the land up. Richard Stockpile is an political economist at the College of Dayton, arranged in the Ohio congressional area wherever such a investment include created more than new jobs rather than any some location in the U.S. He says seems aware of the domestic safety concerns, but they aren't pertinent to which is event about him. Love the judgment by Fueo Window Co., a window producer, to outdoor a installation in a close General Motors factory, wherever it now employs more than rather than 2,000 human beings. Human beings apparently requirement to be cautious, but how's not which's departure at, he says. I don't believe we include domestic safety concerns in honor to automatically windows. The Fueo factory has skilled labor tensions and the hoped for economical rotation off has frustrated, but for an region winding of manufacture losses, the pros prevail the cons, Mr. Stockpile says. We are thankful for such jobs and while I'm speaking on everyone in the metropolitan region since how was a big installation and it was really hard to think thing else event down there. He's not precise yet how violent the definitive rules will be. In March, CEO Donald Trump requested the U.S. Exchequer Division to offer ways to restrain China investment, as portion of an answer to estimated intelligent characteristic identity theft. How could end up as President Rage, anticipated ongoing trading negotiations. Drafts of the draft identification information exposition as a safety hazard and add U.S. industry management to the factors how CFIUS should believe while review transactions. Lawmakers are as well wrangling above the top way to address across the sea collaborative ventures, following companies told the trial offered initially would be duplicative and too wide. Mr. Huffbauer warns how broad-ranging rules, depending on how they are forced, hazard scary invest and could be resist productive, manufacturing study more than costly for U.S. companies by restrictive their capacity customers. The measures as well in danger to intensify the geopolitical problems they are designed to address, he says. How you consider a overseas nation matters, in how they type themselves in honor to thou, he says. If you consider a nation as an foe, it becomes an foe. Mr. Channel, whose job is concentrated on creation bonds among U.S. and China business community, says he is established not to be confused. This just item I can say is if you dwell length quite, you see the type of policy trick above and you aware the just item you can do is fair remain tranquility, he says.